Do squids come from outer space? So they are aliens. This is the direction of a discovery that researchers have now made about the genetic makeup of squids. Make sure to stick around until the end to learn all about the alien features of these sea creatures. And if you like it, I would really appreciate a thumbs up and a comment, because that helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to even more people. Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome. I live in Sicily for several months of the year, and I have a lot to do with squid there. However, they are usually fried and sprinkled with a little lemon juice, so maybe I regularly eat aliens here. Because the discovery that researchers have now made really suggests that octopuses do not originate from this world. By octopus, I mean a subclass of the so-called cephalopods, which includes the delicious sepia, but also squid and octopuses. Many of these animals have amazing abilities and intelligence, and can even use tools. This is particularly remarkable for invertebrates, because most invertebrate creatures are a bit simply structured. I apologize to all the invertebrate viewers of this video. So the question arises, how could octopuses reach such a high level of development, even though this is unusual for other invertebrate animals? A research team has taken a look at the genome of 3 representatives of octopuses to answer this question. An octopus, a 10-armed squid, and a common squid. And the analysis of the squid DNA revealed something amazing. Their genetic makeup includes many more base pairs than that of other mollusks, such as mussels and snails, and it is by far the largest genome among all invertebrates. The octopus genome is as long as 90% of the human genome. This alone is not proof of intelligence, but it definitely shows that these are extremely complex creatures. Okay, now some of you might say, this is so boring, I'd rather go eat calamari again. But the researchers discovered something else. And that is really in a way quite eerie. The genetics of octopuses differs in its structure from that of all other known living beings on the planet. The researcher Hanne Schmidbauer from the University of Vienna says, our research has now made it clear that in order to understand the biology of cephalopods, we must first understand the genetic building blocks of these animals. However, these building blocks appear to differ radically and in many aspects from what we know from other animals. Actually, the genomes of all living things are divided into chromosomes in very similar ways. This basic genetic structure is called synteny and connects all living things across 600 million years of evolution. However differently living things have developed over time, this basic genetic structure is something that you have in common with a toad, for example, and indicates that we ourselves have common ancestors with these creatures that are now so far removed from us. So the next time you see a frog, treat it like a distant relative. So with indifference and socially forced invitations to Christmas dinner, octopuses care. But from this evolutionary common line, the genes on their chromosomes are arranged and distributed completely differently than in any other group of animals. Co-author of the study, Clifton Ragsdale from the University of Chicago, says there is immense restructuring of the genome, as if the original genes had been pured in a blender. Why do some animals develop a completely different genetic blueprint, while all other species on the planet do not? The cause of this is completely unclear, but it may have given octopuses a tremendous evolutionary advantage in the past. The gene blocks, also known as microsyntenies of octopuses, contain almost no novel genes at all, but rather just new combinations of genes that are also known from other living beings. This unique genetic arrangement could be the key to the special abilities of octopuses. One could also say that by restructuring their genetic material, they did not change the rules of the evolutionary game, but rather built a completely new playing field for themselves, thereby acquiring abilities that are absolutely close to other sea creatures from an evolutionary perspective. Messenger RNA appears to play a key role in this. Flashback to 8th grade biology class. RNA's job is to transport and translate the genetic information stored in DNA. So, it puts the genetic information into practice. In octopuses, researchers have found that post-transcriptional modification of this messenger RNA occurs particularly frequently. So, after the genetic information has already been read and should be transported by the messenger RNA, it gets modified. This also occurs in vertebrates, but much less frequently than in octopuses. This post-transcriptional modification of an mRNA blueprint that has already been read from the DNA can lead to the production of different proteins from the same genetic code. This, in turn, expands the functional possibilities of protein formation. And indeed, this mRNA editing occurred particularly frequently in the neural tissues of octopuses, meaning in their brains. So, in a way, this is like a superpower for octopus hearing, because the messenger RNA creates modified proteins through its post-transcriptional changes. It probably works quite similarly with Marvel superheroes. Spider-Man's messenger RNA suddenly also transports spider information, even though it has read something different in his human DNA. Luckily, Spider-Man wasn't bitten by an octopus. But many questions are still open. Have octopuses, as the only species, pulled off this evolutionary stunt? There are theories that the ancestors of octopuses came from space, or at least influenced by factors from space. Sounds totally crazy, yes, but it's even claimed in an official scientific study. It states the transformative genes that lead from the ancestor nautilus to the common cuttlefish and squid to the common octopus cannot be easily found in any pre-existing life form. Therefore, it is reasonable to suspect that they were borrowed from a distant future in relation to terrestrial evolution, or more realistically, from space in general. But is that really a realistic explanation? I think that while it's not completely impossible, it's rather unlikely. The idea that the ancestors of octopuses came from space is somehow not very plausible. How would they have done that? Frozen in a comet and then thawed on Earth? Like squid rings from the frozen food shelf? Probably not. Perhaps there was some kind of panspermia event and alien viruses came to Earth that then changed the genetic makeup of the squid. But if there really was such an influx from space, why have only the octopuses been affected by this and no other species on this planet? To me, those are rather far-fetched explanations. A more plausible explanation is simply an absolutely extraordinary evolutionary tactic that doesn't involve any extraterrestrial factor. What do you think? Why do octopuses have such strange genetic material? Could they actually come from space? Or is there another explanation? I would be very interested in your opinion, so please write it in the comments. So, the idea that octopuses have an extraterrestrial origin is a bit far-fetched. But there are octopuses in space? No joke, they actually shot some up into space. If you want to learn all about this crazy story, then definitely check out the featured calamari clip. It's become very exciting. And if you want to support my work a bit, then treat yourself to one of my space books or a plush planet from my space shop, which has just moved to getdigital.d. This is a huge step for me, and I would be very happy if you would take a look through my shop. Thank you very much, folks. And otherwise, I would say, see you in the next video. Take care.